In this tutorial, we will see an introduction to pig. So the topics we will cover, we will understand what pig is, the difference between pig and hive, how do you run pig commands, and we will also get to see how pig works at a high level. So before we get started, I am assuming you have an overview of big data. So what is pig and where it is used? So pig is a framework or a platform that is developed at Yahoo. You can consider pig as a platform for analyzing very large data sets. So this is one of the Hadoop ecosystem components. The other ecosystem component that you would be familiar with is Hive. So what is the difference between pig and hive? We will come to that. But before that, when you are using pig, you code in a language. The language that you use to do your analysis is called pig Latin. So the commands that you use are coded in this language called pig Latin. So this is the language that you use to code in pig. So why did pig come into place? What was the motivation for pig? So typically, some of you would be familiar that when you are analyzing data in a big data ecosystem using Hadoop, then the default choice was writing MapReduce code using Java. So typically, when you are writing Java code, there were multiple challenges. Some of the challenges included MapReduce challenges. Some of the challenges included writing a lot of repetitive code. So for even simple tasks like loading a data set, you might have to write multiple classes, figure out a way to deploy the jar files and so on. So tweaking the business logic to suit the MapReduce requirement always proved to be tricky. Then the other thing is you had to have a good understanding of Java. So knowledge of Java and the corresponding interfaces, MapReduce related interfaces and related intricacies. This proved to be tricky for many of the people. Then prototyping using Java MapReduce was typically not easy. So if you wanted to quickly load a data set, do some filtering, let's say, you cannot do it easily. You could have to write the code, you would have to deploy it, and then you'll have to figure out how this whole thing works. So prototyping was not easy. So the folks at Yahoo looked at all of these challenges and then thought if there is a way to easily get this done using a procedural language. So many of you would be familiar with language like PL SQL or any SQL analysis language that you use in Oracle or SQL Server and things like that. So you can consider pig to be an equivalent. So what pig provides is a series of commands. These are the pig Latin commands that you can basically use to analyze your data. So it is more of a data flow language where you can visualize your data like a flow chart and then you can just code your syntax and your pig script according to that. The beauty of pig is it automatically generates MapReduce code on the fly behind the scenes. So you really do not have to worry about how MapReduce logic has to be translated and how you will actually deploy the code and so on. So that way it becomes very easy to interactively easier. So you can maybe take a data set, load it, find out how the schema is looking like, then apply some filter operations, again look at the result, and then keep fine-tuning your logic. And once you reach a certain point, then you can quickly switch to the batch mode and deploy it. So it supports both interactive as well as batch mode of execution. We will see details on the various mode it supports. In addition to this, it has got a rich library of packages for a lot of functions and features that are not available out of the box in pig. Let's say for example there is a library called DataFoo There is a library called piggy bank, which has a lot of functions that you can use in addition to whatever is available within pig. And if you still do not find a particular function that you want to use and you want to write your own, then it is very easy to write your own custom user defined function. So defining and extending your own function is very easy and it can be easily done in pig. So these are some of the benefits that pig provides and why pig proved to be popular when compared to Java MapReduce. Now, having understood an overview of pig, the next thing that we want to do is to understand the difference between pig and Hive. So Hive is another Hadoop ecosystem component. For people that are familiar with, you basically can write, this covers the introduction to pig. So for people that are familiar with Hive, you can basically write your own SQL kind of syntax using Hive. And what Hive does is, it has a Hive execution engine which will take the SQL kind of queries that you write and then translate into MapReduce code. This gets translated into MapReduce. So this is one of the benefits that Hive provided. You really do not have to worry about Java. You can write SQL like syntax and the Hive engine will automatically take care of generating MapReduce queries or jobs and then submitting it on the Hadoop cluster. Now in this process, the Hive engine uses a metastore. So typically you will use a MySQL as a metastore which stores all the information about the schema and so on. Now the difference between Hive and pig is similar to Hive. Here you will write your pig Latin commands and you submit this to the framework. The framework is going to be the pig framework. And the pig framework automatically generates MapReduce for you. So what's the difference? Hive uses SQL like syntax, and pig is more of procedural, where you have a series of commands like load, group, filter and so on that you can use to generate MapReduce code. So that is the first difference. Okay. So if you start looking at differences, the first difference is Hive versus pig. One is SQL like, the other one is procedural. The second difference is Hive uses a metastore whereas pig does not. So there is no concept of a metastore in pig. If you want to define your schemas and then use it in your subsequent commands, there are two ways of doing it. One, you can use a H catalog, or second, you can dump your pig schema in a text file and then reuse it, but there is nothing available out of the box, or you will have to use H catalog. Okay. So these are some of the primary differences. Other than that, in terms of the way that the MapReduce job runs, both of them kind of package the jobs for you and they automatically schedule it and run it on the cluster. So we will see more differences on how actually pig works. So with this, let's quickly understand. So when you are saying running pig, what does that actually mean?